just take you through the topic. So we are going to work on presenting content heavy slides. Content heavy could be a lot of charts are there, a lot of text is there. How do you work with those? It could be like you're putting in a big table in your slides. So how to represent that? How to highlight information? That would be one part of it. Then we will move on to working with tables as pictures. If you're putting a table as a picture, or if you want to highlight something in a picture, then what are the techniques we can use? Then there's a new feature in Office 365 called Zoom. Probably not useful when you are converting your PowerPoint presentations into a PDF, but a very interesting feature, especially when you're presenting. So we'll work on that. We'll talk about what are transitions versus animation, what's the difference, and few topics like reducing the size of the PowerPoints, how we can do that while we are sending it. We will talk about exporting the PowerPoint into a CD and sending to someone. What does that mean? What is package for presentation for CD? So this is the agenda for today. It looks very short, but a lot of work to do today. Presenting content heavy slide means that too much information on the slides. Like there may be a chart, there may be a table, there may be a couple of text box. So how do we, it's sometimes we have a choice that yes, we can reduce the content on a given slide. And in this deck, you will see this PowerPoint presentation, right? Where there is the chart, there is the text boxes. Do you see we are cutting the design element with a chart? We are cutting the design element on 2 occasions, in fact, 3 occasions, 4 occasions. One is through the title, one is through the chart, one is through this text box, another is through this text box. So if I look at this particular slide, it's got some design element into it. This particular star kind of a thing, which kind of marks the area where a person would like to see the content. And the other way on the top, the title should have been there. So this is a content heavy slide. Now, like I said, we may have a choice. We may not have a choice that, okay, I can get rid. If I had a choice, definitely I would say, let's put the chart and whatever is the most important part of, or what the chart is telling me, let us have it over here on the side. So only 2 boxes would be the perfect thing. One chart, one the insights from the chart, and anything else can move on to the next slide. Sometimes that's a possibility, sometimes that's not a possibility. So how can we improve upon it? And another thing which is not correct in this particular slide is the colors. There are way too many colors in this particular slide deck. There is green, there is blue, there is yellow, there is red, and of course the black color, plus a different color over here also. Colors make a lot of difference on how the person is going to focus on the PPT that you are creating. So colors are basically used for what? Colors are used for focusing an audience attention towards certain things. Now, when any of the PowerPoint presentation or a single slide has too many colors into it, then you will confuse the audience rather than helping the audience to focus on the right things. See, when you're specifically sending your PowerPoint presentations as a PDF across to the client, you have a little control on what he's reading when he's reading it. When you're presenting a PowerPoint presentation, then you have full control on your audience attention, because you can have animations and a one element can come at one time. So like that, we can make sure a person is looking at only, let's say, my chart, not reading the text next to it. But in PDF, you have no control on it. So we use a lot of colors, colors in the sense you have to be careful with the color combinations. You have to be careful with the color choices and how many colors should ideally be there. If you think about, this had color, but over here, there are only two predominant things happening. This is too dark, this is too bright. So our focus is going on that, right? Over here, there are a lot of colors. There is green, there is gray, red, orange, but this is the brightest of all. So automatically our eyes goes on that. Same thing happens over here. Everything is gray and black, but over here there is one red color. So focus goes on that. And same thing over here. There is blue, there is green, white, black, yellow, so many elements in this picture. But where did our focus go to? Red color, because that's the brightest of all. Right? So my point being, when you're talking about these slide decks that we create, we have to pay a lot of attention to the colors. Now, why I said this is a problem, or why I said, I don't like this particular slide deck, is because of the colors. And why? Because if you look at it, this blue, which is of the bar, this blue is matching up with this blue. Okay. Now, how the human brain works, whenever it sees two things which are similar, it tries to connect. So automatically, if any text was there, my brain would work in such a manner that I'm trying to connect this particular series of sensitivity with this insight. I'm not going to connect it to this is the outcome of the entire chart, but automatically mind goes towards this is for the sensitivity. So this is one problem, right? Plus anything which is red, that's fine, because then I guess we are trying to focus attention on those words. That's okay. But again, we have used a darker blue over here and a red over here. So they'll start to read, then probably focus will go over here, and then the focus will go over here. Ideally, if you think about that, if I'm presenting my graphics and then representing my text on it, my first focus should be either on a very small, short and sweet insight of that particular chart, like how you read newspapers. You have the headlines on the top, followed by smaller, font and the detail of that particular headline. And if there's a graphics. So if you read a newspaper, you read a headline, you look at the graph, and then you start reading the details. So similarly, we have to design our slides. Our PowerPoint presentations should be like that. So I don't want a very strong yellow over here also. So either I make this is already a larger font size. So my eye will focus here. Then ideally it should go over here. Then ideally it should have gone over here to read the details of it. But this is not exactly how it is working. That probably, like I said, this shape is blue color. So instead of a blue color, let's just have, let me hide this. Okay, let's just have fill as white. Okay. And another thing that we can take care of it is, like in this case, I also do not, I am not giving as much space, but that would depend on the what do you call, the content also. But if possible, give that much space as on this side so that it looks little uniform. Change this color to white, because all yellow is not going to look good. White color. All right. And I like this thing what was done. Let's remove the grids in the chart design. Let's pick up a less okay, all chart designs are bad in this, but we can also keep this thing as a yellow color and then change the colors of these legends also. Instead of having them as blue color, let's have it as a simple black color only. X's, text, labels. Where is it? Labels, numbers, no. So make it simple black only. Let's create it as simple black, and that's about it. So this is a better design now versus what we started it. So when you look at it also, you'll see a drastic difference. This versus this. Which one is easier to read? Definitely the second one, right? And it focuses on the right places at the right time. Okay, so this was what I wanted to focus on, the content heavy slides, one part of it. Now, what are the tips that we can make the slide better? What are the things that you will look for creating a better slide? Number one, simplify the information. Over here, there's no content that you can simplify, in the sense I've put bogus content over here. But if the possibility is there, our first instinct should be to simplify it. It's too many information. It's difficult for a person to focus his attention on one specific thing. So if possible, simplify by dividing it into multiple slides. That's not a bad idea. Don't try to squeeze everything in one slide. Second, don't put all the information in one slide. Three, alignment of the elements. Very important. The spacing between the elements. The spacing from the title, the spacing on the sides, the spacing on the top and bottom, everything will matter. Avoid usage of too many colors that we saw, because the work of color is to get attention of the audience at a specific place. Now, when we overuse the colors, then the attention is also pretty confused that this is important or that is important. What should I read? And if there's too much to read, then again, it's a very bad work. Use shapes rather than text box, like I was telling you. Why? Because in case of your text boxes, we do not have a control on the size. So if I wanted to make it bigger just because I wanted to align with the other one, or make it, equal sized text boxes on the top and bottom, like what we did over here, we were able to make them equal size just because we have put a text box in a shape. If it was a single text boxes, this would not have been possible at all. So just because we can use shapes in a better way in terms of sizing, so we should use the text box inside the shapes, and use different sizes to emphasize on importance of data. So for example, over here, if this is more important inside, and this is just things that I would like to know, like how we have in the asterisk a small thing that will help us or support what you're looking on the top. Maybe the source from where we have taken the data, maybe the dates from where we have taken the data, but the real insight is on the right side. So I can make the text size of this box bigger than the one on the left. So play around with the text part also. Large tables. Let's say we have a lot of we have a lot of data, we have tables that we have done calculations that we want to present in our slides. So what is wrong with this? Tell me, what do you think is wrong with it? First, let's discuss what's wrong with it. Then I'll give you time again to see how you can make it better. Alignment. What else? The font color of the first row. Okay, so difficult to read. Black against blue. Correct. What else? Then there's no data also, by the way. So do we need to keep these rows? Probably not. And do you see this thing? It says top CPUs on the market, and it's picking up entire table. It's not few, it's all of them are the top CPUs in the market. So do we really need it over here? Maybe not. Maybe there's a better way of putting it up, right? I want to say that these are top CPUs. Probably this is not the right place to put it, because all of them are top. If there were few, it would have made sense to put a note over here. But if you're saying all of them are top, then there can be a better thing to put. And then it says what we found out is the heading: low, medium, and high CPU usage during programming based on CPU model. So kind of two lines we are explaining what a person is looking at. Over here also we have text. And what about these? The legends on the right hand side. Two legends, but completely different colors. One is using blue as a background, though it's not that they are present in blue color of the same color. Background is not there in the main table. Then they are using this orange color. Again, not a great idea to have so many colors. So we have orange on the top and orange over here. Brain goes and tries to correlate, but there's no correlation between two. Then H, high usage, but then we go L comma M. So why didn't we go just H comma L comma M and explain the person? So this looks a little odd to me also. Like, why would I do this? Like, either break it up or join all of them together and let the person guess what we are making him show. So this is like a table. So you can change the colors. It's not a picture, it's a table. So you can change the color, you can resize it and all those things. So I said top CPU models, usage-based performance. I even reduced the text on the top. What you need to understand in PowerPoint, and this is one mistake that I see a lot of people making, they use PowerPoint as they are using Word. And I see those things in your PowerPoint also, but I understand it's a report, and in report we kind of tend to write more. but as much as possible, reduce the number of words that you're using. Because our, again, thinks that our brain is very powerful. It can read a lot of things very nicely, even if you don't write the full sentences. It can make connections and understand this sentence itself. So kind of reduce on what you're doing. Like I said, I pushed my legends at the bottom. I left this H as the red color so that anybody who's looking at this instantly knows why H is highlighted and what does it mean. So that's why I left the color in the legend also. Other than that, I think where I can also make an improvement is probably this area. Make this as white rather than black, or change the color altogether. It's too contrasting. Now, sometimes it may be that we want to highlight an information in our table. So we have a lot of data, and I'm sure in the table, when you put a lot of data, you're not going to talk about a lot of it, or whatever is the most important part, you want to highlight that to your audience. So what are the ways of highlighting in for the audience? Number one, what you could do is, let's say if I want to highlight CPU 8 because it's got high performance almost in all the places except for forecasting and one more. So what I've done over here, in order to highlight it, I increased the font size, made it little bigger than the rest. Again, what I'm doing is visually trying to attract my user to look at a certain place. So increase the font and put a shape outline around it. So this is nothing but a shape that I dropped, and then I made the fill as no fill, and I gave an outline, a thicker outline around it to highlight this particular item in the table. So that's one way of doing it. Now, when you're working with tables as pictures, then I don't have a liberty of picking a row and making the font bigger. Then what do you think we should do? Because a lot of time you guys might be putting the tables as pictures, and still I want to highlight things on the table. What do you think we can do? What are the weapons we have? Let's say this is a picture and this is not a table. So this is, since it's a picture, it's not a table. I can't select one thing, increase the size, not, I can't do all those things. But what I can do is, number one, make it little, make it fall outside the picture. So anything, whenever you want to make a person put a focus, we either use colors, we use the size, or we use the positions. Okay, so right now I'm using the position parameter in order to make the person focus on a certain thing. And how did I do this? I simply duplicated this slide, then I cropped it. So I can go to picture format, I can crop it, and let's say I wanted only the CPU 8 to be there. Once I got this one, then again I duplicated this slide. I picked up this image from here, went to the previous slide, pasted it, and enlarged it, and placed it on top of the previous picture. So since we can't increase the size, we can't play with the size of the text over here. Since it's a picture, we play around with the position. So we make the positions little odd, so that again, the whole point, the focus has to be on that. So this is one way of doing it. Second way of doing it is, of course, using our highlighting elements. Like we can have a shape around it, something like this, and then put an arrow also on top of it, so that we are making a person focus on a particular thing in our picture. Make sense? Right? Yes, no, maybe. Now there's a very interesting feature in Office 365 that is called Zoom. Anybody knows of this feature? Zoom? Heard about it, used it? Never? So what this does is, I'll just show it to you what it does, and then I'll tell you how to make it. What this does is, let's say there's a lot of information. Again, we are all talking about content heavy slides. So there are a lot of information, like there's analysis 1, there's analysis 2, analysis 4, there's analysis 3. Everything is here. And I want everything to be in one place. But do you think it will become readable? like I have applied zoom to analysis 3. When I click on it, it kind of zooms into that particular data, and then I can see it, and then again I can zoom in again. So I thought this is a beautiful feature. Obviously, you can't use it on your PDFs, but when you're presenting your slide to someone, so again, you guys also have this slide deck with you. What you need to do is, first of all, I had to create another slide. So this is the only downside, that whatever is the content, each content needs to be converted into a separate slide. So I had to create another slide called slide analysis. Once that is done, I removed the text from here, brought to the next slide, created it, and then I took the slide analysis 3 and dropped it in the previous slide. Now this helps to zoom. Okay, I'll repeat what I did. I broke the content. I took analysis 3, created a new slide for it. Once the slide was ready, over here, selected consolidation action plan and dropped my slide inside a slide. So when I drop my slide inside a slide like this, and then I, gave a little bit effect so that, it looks a little nicer. So I can go on zoom. Zoom comes on the top. I can have some zoom effect. I gave a shadow to it so that it looks little nice. And then over here in the zoom also, you can say return to zoom. So if I select return to zoom, I go to the slideshow, I go from the beginning, I click over here, I zoom in, I click over here, I return to my original slide. What do you think about this feature? It's nice. And very nice when you're doing presentations, right? But yes, PDF, it won't make any dent in that PDF.